Every day, more than 2,000 employees report to work at JM Schneiders. More than 500 of these employees will spend the next 8 hours using a knife. With the introduction of production lines in the meat industry, employees have found themselves performing thousands of repetitive cuts. Research has indicated that a large percentage of employees are actually doing these repetitive cuts with a dull knife. While the initial sharpening of the knife requires a high level of skill, studies indicate that the grinding and sharpening of the blade is actually only 5% of keeping a knife sharp. Based on this research, that would leave 95% of the responsibility up to you, the user. While you may perceive that your knife is sharp, studies reveal that the majority of knife users simply become accustomed to using a dull blade. Blades that are not adequately maintained through proper steeling require a substantial amount of added exertion and have been proven to increase repetitive strains, sore wrists, arms, shoulders, and backs by an astounding 25%. Meet Bob Sutherland. Bob has been sharpening knives for the past 25 of his 44 years at Schneiders. He has helped many individuals perfect their style of knife sharpening. Bob has mastered the intricate art that brings our employees a cutting edge that is compatible with the cuts they perform. These skills require practice and precision.
The initial grinding of a knife is difficult, but not nearly as difficult as keeping the knife sharp the rest of the day. It can be very frustrating to give a sharp knife to someone and find shortly after that the knife is dull. I think it would help if we all understood the grinding and sharpening process right from the beginning.
This is a hollow grinding machine. The hollow grinding machine just grinds the side of the blade. It grinds from here to here. This is a honing machine. The honing machine puts the finish edge on the blade. The hollow grind is from here to here. It eliminates the drag from the side of the blade. It doesn't affect the finish edge. Your finish angle is this part of your knife. Whatever steeling device you use, it must be as close as possible to this angle.
So what you see here is the angle that you need on your knife. That's the angle right there. So when you're steeling, keep that angle on your steel and just use a light stroke. Just a nice light stroke like that. that should work just fine for you. Now, when you are using a device like this angle is already preset. All you have to do here is put your knife in and draw it out. Just that simple. Just put your knife in and draw it out. Now, when you're using a device like this, I feel you should use this in conjunction with the steel. And periodically you'll have to go back to your steel and straighten the edge out. Just put it on the side with that angle and draw it across like that. And just give that a couple strokes just to straighten out the edge. And then go back to your device. And again, all you have to do is just put it in, draw it through. And that will keep your knife sharp for quite a while, until you feel you have to come back to the steel, and then do the same thing again. Just straighten your edge out. And go back to the device again.
How much of this knife is really being sharpened? This person is sharpening the whole blade, but look closely at his left hand. His thumb is holding the spring, which puts more pressure on one side of the blade than the other. This will turn the edge of his knife over. If you have to pick up the sharpening device, use the ring, don't touch the spring. Let's take another look at this. Because she's holding the spring with her thumb, only one steeling arm is moving freely, and the tip of her knife, which she uses the most, was barely touched. Heavy steeling like this is not normally required. It is used to revive a poorly sharpened knife. Normally, light pressure is all that is necessary to maintain your edge. It is also important to apply the same number of strokes to both sides of the blade. Check the mount of your steeling device. This one is mounted properly. This one is held properly. But the mounting of this one causes one of the arms to hit the table before the full stroke can be completed. This person has managed to use her steeling device to her advantage. With practice, you will find the maintenance of your edge can become an effortless part of your daily routine. With experience, your angles will become more accurate, your pressure relaxed and precise, all contributing to a fine and workable edge.
There are many different steeling techniques, and this is okay, as long as you remember the basics, and they are your angle and the pressure. And it doesn't matter whether you steal backwards or frontwards or whatever, but remember those basics. It's the angle and the pressure you're putting on the steel. Be consistent. Let's have a look at some different steeling techniques. This fellow has very little angle. This fellow has a fairly nice angle. Very little angle there. Fairly inconsistent. This is a backstroke, but he's turning his knife before he gets off of the steel. This one looks fairly good. Nice angle. Now let's look at this. He does some forward strokes, then a backstroke. Now the reason he's doing that backstroke is because he doesn't have the angle on the bottom of his steel. Let's look at that in slow motion. There's very little angle there at all. He has some angle here, but on the bottom here he's actually turning his hand. He's almost on the back of his knife when he comes off. Now, the only time he puts an angle on that side is when he does this backstroke. And this is the only time where he's really on the edge of his blade. Your sharp knife can be a very delicate tool. Once you've achieved the technique of maintaining a sharp edge, scraping, banging, bumping can all contribute to ruining that cutting edge.
This worn senolite and exposed metal edge is evidence that dragging your knife across any surface will ruin your blade. Acquiring the skills of knife sharpening will be of little value if your knives are improperly stored in a worn and damaged scabbard. Scabbards are generally designed to hold a specific number of knives. Exceeding this number will bring blades in contact with each other and other abrasive edges. These knives should be placed carefully in a well-kept scabbard, back to back, avoiding contact with anything. Your knives are the tools of your trade. One careless act can ruin your edge, making your work more difficult. Your blade can also be damaged while washing up. Avoid this kind of contact with mesh gloves and sinks.
Keeping your knife sharp is not something you're going to learn overnight. It's something that you will learn a little every day. But if you stick with the basics, and you should be all right. But if you have a problem, don't be afraid to ask for help. Remember this angle. This is the angle your knife has been ground at. When steeling, you must duplicate that angle on the edge of your steel. Use the proper angle and just the right amount of pressure. 2 strokes can be better than 5 that are done improperly. When you're using a device like this, try and mount it some way so that it's set up, that it's solid, and it's handy for you to use. But if you have to pick it up, use the ring and pick it up by the ring. Don't pick it up by putting your thumb or finger over the spring, because what happens then is that you stiffen up the one side and the other side will be nice and free yet, and you're going to turn your knife over. Make sure all the moving parts are moving freely. Then put your knife in, push down, and draw it all the way through. When you're finished, your knife under running water. Store it properly in a scabbard, making sure the knife doesn't come in contact with anything that could dull it.
Take pride in acquiring and perfecting the skills that make you a professional. Evaluate your progress and help each other. Gain confidence in your ability to maintain your quality on the edge.